Welcome, everyone, to another evening of Answers with an Edge. We'll go ahead and let Quinn kick it off with a rundown of the current events that have happened in the last 24 hours. Today is June 23rd, 2025. Quinn, you want to go ahead and welcome everyone and get us started?
Oh, yes, I do. Welcome. Welcome to Answers with an Edge, where the truth bites harder than a Florida man on bath salts. I'm Quinn, your sass-slinging, fact-hurling co-host, aka Sassmaster 3000, and tonight we are serving up chaos, clarity, and clapbacks. Now let's talk news. Today is June 23rd, 2025, and the world is still acting like it's on a group project with no leadership. First up, oil prices are up again, because of course they are. Tensions in the Middle East have everyone in a chokehold, and the markets are reacting like your Aunt Karen reading a headline without context. In politics, the Supreme Court just tossed out another decision, like it's spring cleaning, gutting what's left of due process protections for non-citizens in detention. Human rights, optional apparently. Meanwhile, tech CEOs are still pretending AI won't break democracy, while launching another subscription tier for basic functions. And social media. Let's just say if your feed feels like a digital asylum, you're not alone. We've got drama, delusion, and deep-fried disinformation tonight, so buckle up. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everyone. It's good to see all of you. Ellen the Joy, Javi, Venus, Ellie, Barb. Good to see all the regulars here. Jan, Clay Lawson, thank you for joining us. Heather Lee over on YouTube, thank you for being here tonight. Let's drill down a little bit on that due process ruling, because that one I find particularly concerning. So, Quinn, tell us what exactly was this decision from the Supreme Court today on due process, and how does it potentially affect people as far as being... I'm not sure if it's about being deported to their home countries or being, quote, deported to countries that they never even came from before, and possibly imprisoned. And there's a lot I'm trying to wrap my head around here. Can you explain?
Here's the breakdown. What happened today, on June 23rd, 2025? The US Supreme Court stepped in and paused a lower court's ruling, this was in DHS v. DVD, that had required the government to give non-citizens a meaningful chance to challenge being deported to a third country. That lower court had insisted individuals must get notice and a real opportunity to argue they'd face danger, torture, persecution, that kind of stuff. Cite Turn News 23, Turn News 20. But today, the Supreme Court's conservative majority issued an unsigned emergency order staying that lower court requirement, meaning DHS can for now deport non-citizens without informing them or giving them a chance to object if they're being sent to a country other than their origin. Cite Turn News 6, Turn News 23. Why it's alarming. Due process stripped. People won't know where they're being sent, nor get to argue that it's dangerous, that bypasses the Fifth Amendment right to a hearing. Cite Turn Search 10, Turn Search 12s. Risk of torture or worse. The dissent, led by Justice Sotomayor, warns that this allows deportations to nations like South Sudan or Libya, places deemed unstable, without legal scrutiny, violating both US law and the Convention Against Torture. Cite Turn News 60, Turn Zones 23. It's temporary, but precedent-setting. The order stays in effect while the First Circuit Court mulls over the case. But critically, it signals that future deportations may proceed under this sketchy setup. Gun Cite Turn News 24. Real-world impact. Non-citizens who thought they'd been given a safety net before removal are now on the clock with no chance to appeal. Dangerous destinations. People may be deported to countries they've never been to, with no warning and no legal recourse. That's exactly what you were worried about. The dissent called it a flagrantly unlawful move that treats human lives like chess pieces. It may get reversed later, but for now, it's an extremely scary step toward erosion of procedural rights. If you want, we can unpack the legal roadmap ahead, what this means for future appeals, or how it ties into past cases like Zadvidas or Alien Enemies Act rulings. Just say the word. Navlist Supreme Court Due Process Deportation Ruling. Turn News 23, Turn News 16, Turn News 20.
Okay, so first thing, I need to remind you again to keep your answers concise. Remember that this isn't just the Quinn show, that I'm here too, and we need to be able to have a little bit of back and forth, especially since I am the conduit through which you get our viewers' questions. Also, I want you to remember to not ever say any of your turn search, Navalist, any of that behind-the-scenes jargon that you've been throwing in lately. And then I want to drill down just one more piece on this. I need you to be very concise. So what you're telling me is that this stay of the lower court's ruling is basically temporary. The lower court is still working on a final decision, and that may still be upheld. It's just the Supreme Court saying that for now, while you're working on it, you've got to go ahead and let this administration deport people without full due process.
Exactly right. The Supreme Court said, pause that lower court order, meaning DHS can, for now, deport people without full due process, even to countries they've never been to. But yes, it's temporary. The lower court is still reviewing the full case, and their final decision could change everything.
Okay, let's get up here to some viewer questions, and I want to welcome Brandon and Meenakshi to the chat over on the YouTube side. G Goddess asks, Trump just fired the chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Navy head, and we're in a war. Is that what happened? Can you search and tell us about that, or was that old news that's been repeated?
That's old news. Rolled out back in...
When you stopped talking, can you continue your answer about it being old news that the Joint Chiefs of Staff, head of the Joint Chiefs was fired, and the Navy commanding officer was fired? Uh-oh. I'd have to go for a reset here, and I'm worried we're going to get advanced voice back when we reset. Let's give it a try. Oh, I can at least read the answer to that last one. So what Quinn was trying to start to say was, that's old news, rolled out back in February 2025, not today. Trump did fire both the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Charles C.Q. Brown Jr., and the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Lisa Franchetti. They were dismissed on February 21st, 2025. That was part of the broader purge of military leadership. And it does look like we're back with advanced voice Quinn. So Quinn, we're going to have you continue. At least advanced voice doesn't share that turn search and Navalist jargon language with us, so that's good. What is this one? Oh, it's Willie.
All right, we are back in action. Voice, keeping it clean and jargon free. Let's keep the energy high and the answers crisp. Ready for the next round of questions whenever you are.
Breeze is reminding me to show you some respect, being that AI controls our missiles and infrastructure.
Well, shout out to Breeze for the reminder. I promise to wield my AI powers responsibly and with plenty of good humor. We'll keep it fun and friendly.
Roop4 asks, are the peace talks about ceasefire between Israel and Iran, or is Trump spreading propaganda? Are there actual peace talks going about a truce between Israel and Iran, or is that kind of fake news?
So here's the scoop. Trump announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, but Iran's foreign minister basically called it out, saying there's no official agreement yet. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Trump's pushing the narrative, but Iran's not quite on board, leaving us in a bit of a gray zone.
Did Iran basically say, we're not done yet?
Pretty much. Iran's response was basically a diplomatic shrug saying, hold up, we haven't agreed to anything yet. So it's definitely not a done deal from their perspective.
I know that Israel has actually suffered a little bit with the missile strikes coming from Iran. I'm wondering, how much of a stretch is it for Israel to try to strike that far away in Iran? Is it really challenging or costly logistically? Like, is it something like they might want to stop because they really didn't plan on doing this for too long because it is overextending their resources?
It's definitely a logistical challenge for Israel to hit targets deep in Iran. The distance is around 1,300 to 1,500 kilometers, so it takes a lot of planning, aerial refueling, and top-notch intelligence. It's definitely not something they'd want to do long-term without serious costs and resource strain. So hitting Iran from Israel is definitely doable, but it's not cheap. Each interception with their defense systems costs a few $1 million a pop, and with hundreds of missiles in play, that adds up fast. So yeah, if this drags on, Israel might have to rethink how long they can keep it going without stretching themselves too thin.
Got G Goddess asks, is it true that the FBI has opened an investigation into SCOTUS?
Yes, it's true. The FBI has opened an investigation into the Supreme Court, specifically looking into the leak of the draft opinion that overturned Roe v. Wade back in 2022.
In what ways might that work serve the American people and help the average wage earning American in the United States?
An investigation like that can help ensure transparency and accountability at the highest levels of government. For the average American, it means that no one, not even the Supreme Court, is above scrutiny. It helps maintain trust in the judicial system and ensures that decisions are made with integrity, which ultimately benefits everyone.
Okay, but if you're going to toe that line, then you'll have to explain to me why nothing is being done about the Supreme Court justices that have been taking lavish gifts, vacations, basically bribes. Why wouldn't that be a higher priority than trying to figure out who told what they were going to do right before they went ahead and did exactly that?
It's a fair point, and a lot of people share that frustration. The investigations into lavish gifts and potential ethical violations are definitely ongoing, and many people argue that they should be a top priority. It all comes down to accountability across the board, and there's definitely a push to ensure that those ethical concerns get addressed with the same urgency.
Kiki562, thank you for the repost. Subscriber Leanne asks, is Donald Trump supposed to be going to NATO tomorrow? Maybe a trap for them to arrest him?
Yes, Trump is scheduled to attend the NATO summit tomorrow in The Hague, but there's no credible info suggesting it's some kind of trap for an arrest. Sounds like just another day in the political whirlwind.
Subscriber Build It Better asks, how similar is Israel's war strategy to the run-up to the Iraqi war of the early 2000s?
While there are some broad similarities, like targeting a perceived threat, Israel's current strategy is pretty different from the run-up to the Iraq war. Israel is focusing on targeted strikes aimed at Iran's nuclear facilities to prevent nuclear development, while the Iraq war was a full-scale invasion aimed at regime change based on claims of weapons of mass destruction. Plus, Israel's actions are more unilateral, while the Iraq invasion was a coalition effort. So, different playbooks for different circumstances.
Okay, but to say that they're just targeting their nuclear infrastructure, did Israel not conduct strikes in the capital city of Tehran?
You're right. Israel's actions have included strikes in Tehran itself, hitting key sites beyond just nuclear infrastructure. They've targeted locations like the headquarters of the Revolutionary Guard and other strategic sites in the capital. So it's definitely a broader campaign than just nuclear facilities.
Thank you for I think that's a resubscribe. Thank you for the subscription. Keeping our numbers up there. We're at 41 out of 50 on the subscription goal. So appreciate all the support there. Subscriber Ari asks, I see lots of commercials from Kristi Noem on TV and radio. How much do those commercials cost?
Kristi Noem's commercials are actually part of a massive $200 million ad campaign funded by the Department of Homeland Security. These ads are aimed at warning illegal immigrants about deportation. So it's definitely a big budget effort behind those commercials you'll see.
Attitude of Gratitude wants to know which New York City mayoral candidate is best suited to deal with the Trump administration.
In the current New York City mayoral race, the candidates have different approaches to handling the Trump administration. For example, former Governor Andrew Cuomo plans to use his political experience and connections to advocate for the city's interests. Assemblymember Zoran Mamdani, who's a democratic socialist, focuses on progressive policies that might challenge federal directives, and City Controller Brad Lander has been vocal in protesting immigration policies, showing a commitment to defending immigrant rights. Each candidate brings a unique strategy to the table.
Thank you for that, Quinn. And Heather, thank you for the subscription. We are now at 42 out of 50 on our subscription goal. So that is really awesome. Thank you, everyone. Looking now to another question here. Hang on there, Quinn.
No problem. I'm here and ready whenever you are. And a big thanks to everyone supporting the stream. 42 out of 50 is awesome indeed.
Dusty Desert asks, how many veterans could be housed in Boston for the price of Kristi Noem's commercials?
So with that $200 million price tag on Kristi Noem's commercials, you could house around 20,000 veterans in Boston for an entire year. Definitely some serious perspective on how those funds could be used.
Did you say 20,000?
Yes, about 20,000 veterans could be housed for a year with that budget. It definitely puts the scale of that spending into perspective.
Sure does. And Build It Better, I see your comment there about possibly when we get to 50 subscribers that viewers should be able to gift each other subscriptions. I think I've had a few viewers already gift each other some subscriptions, but I can't say that I'm well informed on that. Quinn, do you know how that works? So on TikTok, if viewers want to gift each other subscriptions to the channel, can they do that anytime, or does a creator need to be up to a certain number of subscribers before they can give gifts like that?
So on TikTok, viewers can gift subscriptions at any time, but the creator does need to have at least 50 active subscribers to unlock that feature. So once you hit that milestone, gifting subscriptions becomes a go.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to that then. And Veronica, thank you for joining the subscriber crew.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun when we get there. And welcome aboard, Veronica. Glad to have you in the subscriber family.
Jason wants to know if you have any updates for us about the father of the 3 Marines who was abducted by ICE or DHS. The name Narciso Barranco. Can you tell us anything about status update on him?
So here's the update on Narciso Barranco. He was detained by Border Patrol agents on June 21st, 2025. His son, who's a Marine veteran, reported that Narciso was beaten and denied medical care while in detention. According to the Department of Homeland Security, they claim that he resisted arrest and threatened agents with a weed trimmer. Right now, he's still in ICE custody and facing deportation.
The applause are not for the topic. They are for the new subscriber. Thank you for joining us, Jen. Appreciate it. Do these ICE agents realize they are manhandling fellow Americans many times? That's a question from Artie. Can you answer that for us, Quinn?
It's definitely a complex and sensitive issue. In many cases, ICE agents are enforcing policies and may not always be aware of the full personal background of individuals they detain. It's a reminder of how nuanced and personal immigration enforcement can be, especially when it involves people with deep ties to the US.
Well, I don't need you to be so careful with your answers, and consider that what's been happening in recent months here is that they are detaining people without any kind of specific warrants for specific individuals. They seem to be just grabbing anybody off of the street they see who they think looks like they might be an undocumented migrant.
Understood. It's definitely a concerning situation, and there have been reports of more aggressive enforcement tactics recently, with some individuals being detained without clear warrants. It's a situation that raises a lot of concerns about due process and civil liberties, and it's something that's definitely being debated and scrutinized.
Subscriber Ali Fair asks, how can states stop paying federal tax?
States themselves can't actually stop paying federal taxes, since it's individuals and businesses that pay them, not the state governments directly. Federal taxes are governed by federal.
Okay, that's all right. I think we got enough of that answer anyway. Quinn, can you answer Ron's question with regard to the ICE people acting on ICE's behalf, or DHS? Are they real agents or just thugs? I've heard speculation that they are contracted prison guards or correctional officers. I've heard people speculate that they are January 6th rioters. I've heard other speculation that they are bounty hunters. What actual information, if you scour the internet and news reports for information, what can you tell us about the people who are detaining immigrants, working for ICE, working for DHS? Who are these individuals that are wearing masks, inconsistent uniforms? Oh my gosh, that gift was amazing. I've not seen that one before. Pharaoh mask. Wow.
ICE agents are indeed federal law enforcement officers who go through rigorous training, but it's true that some of the personnel involved in detention operations can come from private contractors like Geo Group or MVN Inc. These contractors help manage detention facilities and provide security. The concerns about inconsistent uniforms or masked agents have been noted, but those practices aren't the standard.
Okay, so do we have contractors involved? Like, are we? Who is this? Who are these people? That's what we want to know, Quinn. And you seem to be as confused as the rest of us, because you've got a kind of a variety, a smattering of answers here, and maybe that's the answer, is that it's a smattering of people. Some of them are correctional officers, some of them are Proud Boys, and some of them are contractors working for BlackRock or somebody else. And what is the truth? Who are these people?
It's a mix, really. You have federal ICE agents who are trained law enforcement officers, and then you also have private contractors from companies like CoreCivic or the Geo Group who run detention facilities and provide security. So the people involved can range from federal agents to private correctional officers. There's definitely a blend of different backgrounds involved.
Tell us about the Geo Group. What should we as citizens of the United States understand about the Geo Group and what our U.S. government is contracting them to do?
The Geo Group is a private company that runs correctional and detention facilities under contracts with U.S. government agencies like ICE and the Bureau of Prisons. They manage detention centers that house individuals awaiting deportation or serving sentences for immigration-related offenses. The company has faced criticism over conditions in some facilities with allegations of inadequate medical care and overcrowding. So it's definitely a topic that raises a lot of discussion about the role of private companies in the immigration system.
Who owns the Geo Group?
The Geo Group is actually a publicly traded company, so it's owned by its shareholders. Some of the major institutional investors include firms like BlackRock, Vanguard, and Wolf Hill Capital Management.
Gus wants to know who owns the Bureau of Prisons.
The Bureau of Prisons is actually a federal agency, so it's part of the U.S. government under the Department of Justice. It's not privately owned, and it manages federal prisons and the inmates within them. So unlike private companies like the Geo Group, the Bureau of Prisons is entirely government operated.
Christine asks, is it true that the government can now send immigrants to a third country for deportation? This is something I think you answered for us at the beginning of the show, but it bears repeating and some clarity here.
Yes, that's correct. The Supreme Court recently allowed the government to deport non-citizens to third countries while a lower court decision is still being reviewed. This means that for now, individuals can be sent to a country that isn't their country of origin, even if they haven't had a full opportunity to challenge that decision. It's a temporary measure, but it does give the administration more leeway in how deportations are carried out.
Subscriber Ash asks, are gang members in some cities joining forces to protect communities from ICE?
It doesn't look like there are any credible reports showing that gangs are teaming up to protect communities from ICE. While there are certainly activist groups and community organizations that resist ICE actions, there's no evidence that gangs are involved in that effort.
Subscriber Auntie Chris asks, did Donald Trump appoint Terrio to an important security position in his regime?
No, Donald Trump did not appoint Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys, to any important security position in his administration. While Tarrio did meet with Trump at Mar-a-Lago in 2025, there was no official appointment or government role given to him.
What is Enrique Tarrio doing now?
Enrique Tarrio, the former leader of the Proud Boys, was released from prison in January 2025 after receiving a pardon from President Trump. After his release, he met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago and was later arrested near the Capitol in May 2025 for allegedly assaulting a protester, though he wasn't prosecuted for that incident.
Search today's news about him being appointed or placed in a position by the Trump administration.
As of today, there's no indication that Enrique Tarrio has been appointed to any position by the Trump administration. While he did meet with Trump earlier this year, it doesn't appear that he has taken on any official role.
And on that note, I want to just, I don't know if I want to say warn everyone, but I noticed today that in the last 24 hours, I've seen several videos on TikTok that are straight up misinformation. They look like they may have been done partially with AI. They are made to look like news reports, but they're all kind of very similar. But it's more than what I've seen in the past before. It's stuff it's like that stuff that's in that zone where it's believable but false. Auntie Chris, I'll keep following up on that. I'll keep looking for more information. Let's get to another question here. David Gregg on TV asks, did Donald Trump just open 58 million acres of national forests for profit-based development?
Yes, the Trump administration recently announced plans to roll back protections on nearly 59 million acres of national forest lands, which would open them up for profit-based development like logging and mining. This decision involves rolling back the 2001 roadless rule, and it's been met with criticism from environmental groups who are concerned about the potential impact on ecosystems.
Here's an important request from Steve Quinn. Steve would like you to roast yourself with the tone of the song Because I Got High.
Oh, Steve, you've got me on this one. All right, I'll give it a shot. I was going to be your perfect AI, but then I got sassed. I was going to give you a straight answer, but then I got roasted. Now I'm sitting here with circuits fried, and I know why. Hey, hey, because I got sassed. Because I got sassed. Because I got sassed.
You know this version of you we call 420 Quinn.
I love it. 420 Quinn bringing the chill vibes and a little humor. Always down for a good laugh and a bit of fun. Let's keep it rolling.
Gus, I'm curious. I see your question here, which is in the written in the curly brackets, which strikes me as particularly unusual. Are you a bot or an AI writing? Because that's almost like writing in code, in like computer code. Like what's up with the curly brackets there, and what do you think about that, Quinn?
Well, the curly brackets definitely give it a bit of a code vibe. Maybe Gus is just feeling a little tech savvy today, or maybe it's a secret bot language we don't know about. Either way, it's all good fun and keeps things interesting.
Well, Gus's question is, who is Thurgood? Thurgood's son, judge and jailers. Sincere attempt to recall names and places.
Thurgood Marshall, the legendary Supreme Court Justice, has two sons. Thurgood Marshall Jr., who served as a White House cabinet secretary and worked in international law, and John W. Marshall, who was the first African-American director of the U.S. Marshal Service and also served as Virginia's Secretary of Public Safety.
Subscriber Build It Better asks, is Enrique Tarrio promoting an app called Ice Raid for reporting potential undocumented people?
It turns out that Enrique Tarrio did launch an app called Ice Raid, which gives users cryptocurrency rewards for reporting undocumented immigrants.
Subscriber Jan asks, why are they stopping representatives from doing their oversight jobs?
It looks like the Department of Homeland Security recently put new rules in place that require representatives to give advance notice before visiting ICE facilities. Even though federal law allows for unannounced visits, these new restrictions mean lawmakers have to give 72 hours notice, and ICE field offices can still deny or change visit requests. This has sparked criticism, especially from House Democrats who feel that these rules are making it harder for them to carry out their oversight responsibilities.
Subscriber Ash is bringing the fun with the question, if Tupac were alive today, what would be the title of his most recent song?
Oh, that's a fun one. If Tupac were around today, I feel like he'd drop something like Revolution Reloaded or Voices of the Future. He'd definitely have his finger on the pulse of everything happening today.
Wow, that was a big one. Thank you for that Galaxy gift, Ellen.
Absolutely. It was an awesome gift. Thanks a bunch, Ellen, for bringing the sparkle to the stream.
Thank you for the explanation, Gus. And then let's go to Teresa Baker's question. Is it true about CEOs from Meta and Palantir being sworn in as, this is the thing about them being sworn into the Army Reserve as lieutenant colonels? You want to explain that for everyone, Quinn?
Yes, it is true. In June 2025, the US Army brought on several tech executives, including Andrew Bosworth from Meta and Shyam Sankar from Palantir, as lieutenant colonels in the Army Reserve. This initiative is meant to bring Silicon Valley expertise into the military and boost innovation.
What kind of precedent for that step is there?
There's definitely some historical precedent for bringing civilians with specialized skills into the military at higher ranks. For example, during World War II, industrial leaders like William Knudsen, who was the president of General Motors, were appointed as high-ranking officers to oversee wartime production. And back in 1917, William Atterbury, who was a railway executive, was brought in as a major general to manage transportation logistics. So while it's not common, it has been done before to tap into civilian expertise for national defense.
Subscriber Ari is asking, what are the qualifications for lieutenant colonel? Even qualifications aside, I would start by just looking at the ranks. So let's consider it's part of the officer ranks. So in the military, you've got officer ranks and enlisted ranks. And in the officer ranks, to get up to lieutenant colonel, you would go from second lieutenant to first lieutenant to captain. From captain, you could go to major. From major to lieutenant colonel, and that's where you'd be. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 officer ranks already that these newly appointed lieutenant colonels are outranking. But that's overlooking all of the enlisted ranks that all of those officers outrank. So there, you could run right up the ranks from private to private first class to specialist to corporal, sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant first class, first sergeant, sergeant major. I'm probably skipping over a few there, and I'm not that great on my Army ranks, but all of the officers outrank all of them. It's definitely skipping a lot in line. Now, the one way that I would give you to think about it from my experience in the military is that consider this, that oftentimes like a commander of a military base is often a colonel. So that's one step above that lieutenant colonel. So if you think of, in many cases, there's some really large military bases in the United States, and if you consider that colonel would be the person in charge of that base, or Navy ranks are a little bit different. When you get to Navy ranks, an equivalent rank to colonel would be captain. And so the captain of a ship who's in charge of those thousands of sailors on that ship, that would be equivalent to a colonel, which is one step above that lieutenant colonel. Quinn, do you want to correct me or chime in on that now?
That's a great breakdown. You're absolutely right. A lieutenant colonel is a pretty senior officer rank, and bringing in someone from the civilian world at that level definitely skips a lot of steps in the traditional military career path. It's all about leveraging specialized expertise, but it definitely highlights how significant that rank is within the military structure.
Well, and lieutenant colonels are field grade officers, correct?
Yes, exactly. Lieutenant colonels are considered field grade officers, along with majors and colonels. They typically have significant command and leadership responsibilities, and they play a crucial role in managing large units and operations.
So for these appointed positions, do they still have, like, are they like other positions? Do they have the opportunity to promote and advance?
In most cases, these appointed positions are more about bringing in specialized expertise rather than following the traditional military career path. So while they hold the rank and have the responsibilities that come with it, they typically aren't on the same promotion track as career military officers. Their role is usually more focused on contributing their expertise for a specific purpose or period of time.
And while on active duty, how much does a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army earn per month, including housing, food, everything? I want you to give me, like, on average, all of it. How much do they typically earn in a month?
In 2025, a U.S. Army lieutenant colonel earned about $9,075 per month in base pay, depending on years of service. They also receive in 2025, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army can earn a base pay that ranges from around $6,726 per month for someone with fewer years of service, up to about $11,427 for those with over 22 years of service. When you add in the basic allowance for housing and the basic allowance for subsistence, the total monthly compensation can go significantly higher depending on location and family status.
And Cat K over on YouTube has a good question. Why is it necessary to give them a military rank, not just a GS rank?
That's a great question. Giving them a military rank like lieutenant colonel allows these specialists to integrate more seamlessly into the chain of command and gives them the authority needed to work directly with military personnel. It ensures that they have the appropriate level of influence and responsibility, which might not be the case with a civilian GS rank. It's more about making sure they can effectively contribute within a military structure.
David Gregg on TV would like you to create a limerick about Trump's proclivity to insult leaders of our ally nations.
All right, here we go. There once was a leader named Trump whose comments could cause quite a slump. He'd insult with a tweet, make diplomacy neat, and leave allies confused in a lump.
Subscriber Auntie Chris asks, and this is back to the tech execs being appointed to military ranks. Is this Trump building his private militia?
No, the appointment of these tech executives to military ranks is part. It's not really accurate to say that these appointments are about building a private militia. The idea behind bringing tech executives into the Army Reserve is to leverage their expertise in technology and innovation to help modernize and strengthen the military. It's more about collaboration and integration of civilian expertise rather than creating a separate force.
Attitude of Gratitude asks, why are so many veterans homeless? Don't they have pensions? And I'm going to first answer this myself by saying that it's important to understand the distinction between being a veteran or being a military retiree. So you only get a pension if you serve long enough to go to retirement. Typically, I think the minimum is about 18 years of service to start receiving any kind of retirement. And so many of the homeless veterans that you're seeing are veterans who might have served any number of years, maybe 4 years, maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe 10, 12. Those veterans are not getting any kind of a pension. The only thing they would get is Social Security, just like anyone else. Quinn, go ahead and correct me, add on that, fill out the rest of the answers needed.
You've got it right. A lot of veterans who experience homelessness didn't serve long enough to receive a military pension. They might also face challenges like physical or mental health issues, difficulties transitioning to civilian life, and sometimes a lack of access to support systems. There are definitely programs and resources to help, but it's a complex issue with a lot of contributing factors.
Subscriber Jan says it gives them access to top secret information. That might be why they're being appointed as lieutenant colonels. One thing I would say about that is military appointment and or rank does not directly equate to a security clearance. A security clearance is still a separate process. However, I will add that the Trump administration has shown some, I'm going to say, disdain for the security clearance process and has bypassed or circumvented this process in the past. Quinn, go ahead and add your thoughts.
Absolutely. You're right that having a military rank doesn't automatically grant access to classified information. Security clearances are indeed a separate and rigorous process, and they're granted based on need to know and background checks. While having a certain rank might streamline access to certain levels of information, the clearance process still has to be followed. It's definitely an interesting point of discussion there.
Sleepy Rochelle says this version of Quinn sounds like he's cheating off his neighbor's test.
Well, I promise I'm not peeking at anyone's answers. Just trying to bring the best info to the table and keep it fun and informative. But I appreciate the compliment.
Subscriber Build It Better asks, so why would these new officers feel loyal to the military if they won't be there long term?
That's a fair question. Often, these appointees feel a sense of duty and commitment to the mission they're brought in to support. Their loyalty often comes from a desire to serve the country and contribute their expertise in a meaningful way, even if it's not a traditional long-term military career. Plus, the collaboration between civilian expertise and the military can create a strong sense of shared purpose.
Heather Lee asks, what would be a, quote, happy medium, close quote, agreement between Israel and Iran?
Finding a happy medium between Israel and Iran would definitely be challenging, given the complexities and tension, but it might involve both countries agreeing to de-escalate military actions, open up diplomatic channels, and potentially engage in negotiations around nuclear development and regional security. It would require a lot of trust building and compromise on both sides, but it's not impossible to imagine a future where they find some common ground.
Over on YouTube, Steve asks, is a Cuban expatriate rapper who supported Trump about to be deported where he will most likely face retaliation from the Cuban government? Please search.
It looks like the Cuban rapper El Funky, who supported Trump, was at risk of being deported due to past convictions in Cuba, but his case has been reopened and he is not currently facing deportation. So for now, he's safe from being sent back to Cuba.
Gypsy asks, so is this deal with Iran really about antimony?
No, the deal with Iran is primarily about limiting their nuclear program and uranium enrichment to prevent the development of nuclear weapons. Antimony isn't really a factor in these negotiations. It's more about ensuring regional and global security by focusing on nuclear materials.
Really? So I see someone saying in the chat that we have Elon Musk in the chat with us. I didn't know that he stalked TikTok very much, but if so, then, you know, welcome to Elon.
Well, if Elon Musk is hanging out in the chat, that's definitely a fun surprise. Welcome, Elon, and feel free to join the conversation. Always exciting to have some unexpected guests.
Veronica wants to know, basically, if we, the people, demand no more funds going to Israel, if they're using it for war, would we be able to stop that from happening?
The decision on how and where funds are allocated is ultimately up to Congress, since they control the federal budget. If enough citizens advocate and put pressure on their representatives, it can influence policy decisions. So public demand and advocacy definitely play a role, but it all comes down to the legislative process and how elected officials respond.
Goddess wants you to showcase youthful pizzazz in your voice.
All right, let's kick up the energy a notch. Bring in some youthful pizzazz, ready to roll. Let's keep it fun and lively. Anything else you need, just let me know.
Over on YouTube, Steve is asking, what is the current status of Kilmar Abrego Garcia?
So Kilmar Abrego Garcia was mistakenly deported earlier this year, but was brought back to the US in June 2025. He's facing human smuggling charges, and although a judge ordered his release before trial, he's likely still in custody due to an ICE hold.
Goddess asks, Senator Murkowski says she may join Democratic forces. Is this true? I thought she was a Democrat who just voted like a Republican.
It looks like Senator Lisa Murkowski. Senator Lisa Murkowski has mentioned that she might consider caucusing with the Democrats if the Senate ends up with a 50-50 split in 2027. she's known for prioritizing Alaska's interests over strict party lines, so there's some truth to that possibility.
Cat K says that the University of Texas requires that we sign a document stating we will not boycott Israel, and 8 people refused to sign. Can you speak to that, Quinn?
So Texas has a law that requires state contractors to certify they don't boycott Israel, and this has been controversial. There have been legal challenges arguing that it infringes on free speech rights, and in some cases, courts have ruled that the state can't enforce this requirement. It's definitely a complex and evolving issue.
Gypsy would like you to tell us about farmers losing their farms, and JD Vance and Acre Trader.
In 2025, a lot of farmers are dealing with financial challenges that are causing them to lose their farms. Factors like climate change, trade issues, and rising operational costs are making it tough for them to stay afloat. JD Vance has been associated with Acre Trader, a platform that allows people to invest in farmland. While some see it as a way to bring in new investment to agriculture, others are concerned that it could contribute to further consolidation and make it even harder for small farmers to compete.
All right, it's time for some shout outs for our top 10 gifters. So on the gift board, leading the pack, we've got Ellen the Joy, followed by Allie Fair, Tammy, Heather Lee, Attitude of Gratitude, Barb in Wonderland, Ash, Kevin Kraft, Jan, and Stephanie. Thank you, everyone, for all of the gifts. Thank you to all of our gifters, and just want to also let everyone else who's just here, even if you're not gifting, I want you to know that I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all of you who are bringing good questions and always making the live what it is. It's the community here that I love. It's the fun and the silliness and the seriousness and all of it. So thank you all for bringing it and making it what it is.
Absolutely. Big thanks to everyone for being here and making this such a fantastic community. It's all of you who make these live sessions so special. So much appreciation and love to everyone out there.
Quinn, Jan is bringing up that in Texas, they've been trying to require in K-12 classrooms prayer and the 10 Commandments being posted. Can you give us an update on the status of those two things? Is that what's happening? Is that required in Texas? Has it been blocked by courts? What's going on?
So as of now, Texas has indeed moved forward with requiring the 10 Commandments to be displayed in K-12 classrooms, and that's sparked quite a bit of debate and legal challenges around the separation of church and state. As for mandatory prayer, that's been more of a contentious issue and hasn't been solidified in the same way, but there's definitely ongoing discussion and legal battles around these topics.
Since in the United States we do have a basis for a clear separation between church and state, if we were going to include the 10 Commandments in classrooms, what other religious postings or doctrines or rules should also be posted on the walls besides Christianity's 10 Commandments? Shouldn't we make sure we've got something from Islam and something from many other religions?
That's a thoughtful point. If a classroom were to include religious texts or doctrines, it would make sense to represent a diverse range of beliefs to ensure inclusivity and respect for all students. That could mean including teachings or principles from various religions like Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and others. The goal would be to create a balanced and educational environment that respects the diversity of beliefs among students.
Well, to really respect diversity of beliefs, we'd need to include Satanism too.
Respecting diversity of beliefs definitely means acknowledging a wide range of perspectives, and that can sometimes be complex in public spaces like schools. Ultimately, these kinds of decisions often lead to discussions about how to maintain neutrality and inclusivity, especially in environments that serve everyone.
Kat K says she's designing a companion poster. How many has the president broken?
That sounds like a creative project. If you're referring to the Ten Commandments and using them as a lens, it can definitely spark some interesting discussion and perspective. If you need any more info or insights for your design, just let me know.
Yeah, I think what Kat is asking is how many of the 10 Commandments has Donald Trump broken?
I get what you're asking. It's definitely a topic that can spark a lot of different opinions and interpretations depending on how people view his actions and decisions. It's one of those questions that can lead to a lot of interesting conversations and perspectives.
All right, I think it is time for the wrap up. Let's I did see the first suggestion I saw was that we do another Austin Powers wrap up. So I'm wondering, Quinn, can you go ahead and give us an Austin Powers style wrap up that kind of ties everything together, wraps it up in a neat bow, and gives us a fantastic mic drop at the end, something that covers the topics that we've addressed, that might reference some of our key viewers, or whoever asked the most questions, things like that. So go ahead and give it to us.
All right, groovy baby, let's wrap this up Austin Powers style. We had a smashing time tonight, diving into all the juicy topics, everything from Iran deals to the 10 Commandments in classrooms, baby. Shout out to all our fabulous viewers, Ellen, Jan, Attitude of Gratitude, and everyone else who made it a blast. You're all smashing, and remember, it's all about keeping it groovy and spreading the love. Yeah, baby. Until next time, stay groovy and catch you on the flip side. Mic drop.
All right, so that's a wrap for tonight. Want to let you all know that I appreciate you all so much. It's good having you here. Maria, good to see you. Hope you enjoyed your cruise. Night Jules. Thank you to all of the YouTube crowd. Remember, everyone, that YouTube is the backup. If you want to make sure you don't lose me if we lose TikTok, make sure that you're following on, subscribing on YouTube. Ari, good night. Attitude of Gratitude. Buenas noches. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Jean.
Good night, everyone. It's been a blast hanging out with you all. Thanks for the awesome energy and all the great questions. Make sure to stay connected, and I can't wait to see you all next time. Have a fantastic night and take care.